dude, I know. The compete level, the shootout, the rivalry. Yaroslav Halak getting clubbed over the head by his own defenseman. I mean, it was great.
Boom! You ready? Big news. What? Whoosh. Seriously?
No pigs yet.
What? What was he doing? Wow. Bring him on. Beautiful.
Leafs win 3-2 against the Montreal Canadiens in the shootout. So they're good at the shootout all of a sudden. It's not often you get to say that the Leafs win back-to-back games in the shootout, so the Leafs win back-to-back games in the shootout. And I've been to a lot of hockey games, but this was my first ever Leafs-Habs game. And they always talk about the fans being split between the Habs and Leafs, but during the warm-up, there were more Habs fans than Leafs fans. One thing I don't understand about Leafs fans is whenever the Habs fans started the Go Habs Go chant, the Leafs fans booed them. Don't boo them, cheer back! And Tyler Bozak gives them a reason to cheer, opening up the scoring 1-0 Leafs. And he got a little help because one of the Habs defensemen clubbed Halak over the head with his stick by accident. What is it with that happening this year? First Ballard on Vokun and then this. And who can cool off Tyler Bozak? 8 points in his last 7 games. And guys, I seriously mean this. If Tyler Bozak was able to crack the Leafs at the beginning of the season, and he produced at this pace the whole time, he'd have to be nominated for the Calder. I'd still have to put Myers in there, I'd still have to put Duchesne, but I think Bozak would have had a better season than Tavares. But I mean, this is all just a what-if fantasy scenario. He had to go down to the Marlies, and he learned a lot of things, and that's why he's producing the way he is. Working on a few things with defense, playing more games in a week, winning face-offs, and all of a sudden, poof, first-line center. And speaking of rookies performing well, Jonas Gustafsson had an excellent game, except for Gianta's first goal, making the Leafs zone look like an ice cream parlor. That was soft serve. To the Habs' credit, Pouliot gave Gianta a pretty good feed, but man, you gotta have that. But guess who? The Bozak, Kessel, Kuhlman line answers back for the Leafs. If I told you at the beginning of the year the Leafs' best line was gonna be Bozak, Kuhlman, and Kessel, you would have put me on medication. But here they are, a really young line, and they're producing. But it wouldn't be a post-lockout game without the Habs tying it up and sending it to overtime, right? All game long, especially in the first 10 minutes of the first, the Habs were pelting shots at the Leafs net, trying to deflect it in on Gustafsson. And to the Leafs' credit, that's one thing that they've cut back on huge since the start of the year. For the first couple months of the season, if you wanted a goal, all you had to do was stand in front of the net for a couple seconds, wait, and eventually a puck would hit your stick and go in. Lately, if you try that, someone will just come over and deck you. But in this particular situation, Gianta manages to get in front, tip one in on Gustafsson, and the game is tied at 2, sending the game to overtime. Now, would this be a bad time to point out that the Habs have beaten the Leafs 3 times in overtime this season? It's either bad timing or him being a negative Nancy. Take your pick. The Leafs and Habs exchange chances in overtime. Carl Gunnarsson with a last-second blast doesn't go in. Shootout. With the shootout tied after 2 rounds, Leafs go to Johnny Mitchell as the 3rd shooter again. And oh, the guy can dangle. Now all Gustafsson's got to do is make the save. Monster! The Monster makes the save. The Leafs win to improve to 7-3-2 in the month of March, and Gustafsson picks up his 5th consecutive win. Remember that March Madness blog I keep telling you about? Well, I'm going to put it in the video description again if you want to read it. But I'm going to update it after every game in March. Basically, I try to figure out if the Leafs played at March's pace for the entire season, where would they be? Well, right now, the Leafs have 64 points on the season, but if they played at March's pace for the entire year, guess how many points they would have right now? I'm just warning you guys, plug your ears if you don't want to hear, because it's pretty intense. With the 7-3-1 record in March, if the Leafs played like this all year, they would have 98 points, good for 2nd in the NHL. The Bruins can forget about their lottery pick. They're basically getting a 2nd rounder. So my question to you guys, the Leafs haven't been able to carry over this March success to the next season for the last 5 years now. So I wonder, can they do it for the 2010-2011 season? One of the things I talked about after the game with Monica on Leaf Space Live was the Leafs really seem to have chemistry now. And people talk about certain players not producing, but how can you argue with the results? The Leafs are 7-2-1 since the trade deadline. But you look at the Leafs on paper, and the consensus seems to be that yes, while they're doing well, I still think that they're going to go out and get some free agents or make some trades and whatnot. And then maybe they'll come into the next season looking better on paper, but will the chemistry still be there? That's it for me, guys. Let me know what else is going on around in the hockey world with a text comment, or please make your own video response. There was a fight in the NHL last night that lasted 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Lee Stempniak's continuing to do his Alex Ovechkin impression. And in the OHL, Nazem Kadri is the overtime hero in the playoffs and has a wicked sweet mohawk. And by wicked sweet, I mean only acceptable during the playoffs. Let me know what you think, guys. Can the Leafs actually continue this ridiculousness? We'll have to see. Peace out.